Hey guys, alright, so today's video again will be another tropical update, and alright, so we got two new disturbances. We of course have this first disturbance that the NHC has been monitoring for the past few days, and then now they've highlighted the second disturbance that the models have also hinted at forming into a potential tropical system as well as we head into next week. So both these systems, especially this first one that's already in the Western Caribbean, will likely become tropical systems, honestly, as we especially head towards next week. Now, first, just discussing this first disturbance. As of the 2 p.m. advisory on both these disturbances, for this first disturbance, the NHC says that a well-defined tropical wave located over the Western Caribbean Sea is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms. Conditions are expected to be conducive for a tropical depression to form by early next week, but only if the system moves and remains over the waters of the northwestern Caribbean Sea or southern Gulf of Mexico. Development will become less likely if the system moves over the Yucatan Peninsula or northern Central America. Regardless of development, though, this system is expected to produce largely heavy rains with possible flash flooding over portions of southeastern Mexico, Central America, and western Cuba during the next several days, and interested in those areas should monitor the progress of the disturbance. So, it looks like this system will have its best chance of formation if it stays more to be centered over water than interacting with any land, especially, of course, the Yucatan Peninsula. But so if we look at the 5-day graphical tropical weather outlook, you can see the area of development the NHC has lined out here has a potential of it starting to curve towards the northwest and start moving directly north over the next couple days. And then if it stays more on the eastern side of this, it stays generally mostly over water and kind of just skirts the Yucatan Peninsula. That would have its max potential, be able to have its max potential of trying to become a stronger system. Now, if it goes more on the central or western part of this area, highlighted in red of potential of where its best chance of development is, it will likely not really develop as far as or get as strong as potentially it could. Now, with this second disturbance that the NHC has started to monitor, by the way, this first disturbance now has a 40 to 70% chance of formation within the next 2 to 5 days. So its 2-day percentage chances are going up, as we would assume it would, as we get closer to the time of its potential likely development into at least a tropical depression, maybe even a tropical storm, at which point it would be named. And if this system is named, it would be named Gamma, the third name on the Greek alphabet list. Now, the second disturbance that the NHC really start to monitor as of 8 a.m. this morning, so this is only its second advisory, really, for this second disturbance. It says another tropical wave located just east of the Lesser Antilles is also producing a large area of disorganized showers and also producing a large showers and thunderstorms. This wave is forecast to move westward at 15 to 20 miles per hour during the next several days, and environmental conditions could become a little more conducive for development when the system is over the central or western Caribbean Sea early next week. As of right now, the system has only a 0 to 20% chance of development, but especially once, now of course, since it's still east of the Leeward Islands, but once it enters the Caribbean, especially once it gets closer towards the Central Caribbean, we'll start to see these chances really go up, and I expect the 2-day percentage chances to really go up as we get towards Saturday and Sunday, and especially Monday. I think the system will likely start to develop into a tropical system as we get towards this next upcoming Wednesday or Thursday. That would be, I think, likely the beginning portion of time when this system will likely start to try and develop into some kind of tropical system, whether it's just a tropical depression or tries to develop further into a tropical storm. So that is what the NHC is monitoring right now, both of these two disturbances. Now let's go to tropical tidbits, and in fact, let me take you to satellite imagery, and the first disturbance that the NHC is monitoring that has a medium to high chance of development is now designated Invest 91L. So this is another invest that the NHC is monitoring, this next invest. You can see it's a very broad area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms, as they said in their description of it. But you can see it still has, you can tell there is still some potential spin within it. Not too much yet, but there's a lot of pretty strong, decent convection around it. But again, we'll still have to give it a bit more time, especially at least another couple of days for the system to really develop before we start to really see the system try to consolidate and condense into trying to become an actual tropical system, whether it's just a tropical depression or it tries to become a tropical storm. So that's what this medium to high chance disturbance is looking like right now in Gfs 91L. So now let's look at what the forecast models are more or less technically predicting for both these systems. So let's go and start out with the GFS model. I'll show you the GFS model, what the GFS is thinking, the European model is thinking, and then what the CMC model is thinking for both these systems. So let's first start out with the GFS model. And all right, so here's all of the precipitation out here in the Western Caribbean that is associated with Gfs 91L, and then the precipitation out here around the Leeward Islands is associated with that second disturbance. That will probably become an Gfs probably over the weekend and into early next week. But let's move this forward out in time, and this is the 12th run of the GFS, the newest up-to-date run of the GFS. You can see it starts to have Gfs 91L start to form its closed low pressure center, getting towards Sunday, and then as it continues to move pretty much directly right around the Yucatan Peninsula and then start to really strengthen there, as you can see, right as it starts to curve down towards the south and west into the southern coast of Mexico, and actually try to become a pretty strong system with the pressure getting down to 981 millibars. That's a pretty formidably strong, compact system, honestly, which would translate if we were, because pressure, if I was just going off technically what this pressure would associate to with the potential of how strong in terms of sustained winds the system would be, it would probably be somewhere around a Category 1 hurricane, I'd say. But, of course, pressure is not a fully reliable source to try and figure out what the wind speed would be with this system and how strong it would really be, because we've seen a lot of differences between a system's pressure and wind speed, so it could be still technically a tropical storm even, or maybe barely a Category 1 with that kind of intensity. Now, the GFS has it start to die off with its over Mexico, bring heavy rain to Mexico, and gusty winds, of course. But it doesn't really do, doesn't really do much of anything with that second disturbance, as you can see. Though, let's just bring it out to the end there, and you can see there's that big area of precipitation there, and there's a cold front that's moving in through the central U.S. towards the eastern U.S. and the East Coast. And those two areas kind of combine with precipitation and become potentially, now this is at the very end of the run of the GFS currently, so it's pretty unlikely that this would happen, though it's interesting that it's showing this, a potential nor'easter, or at least coastal storm for the northeast and New England again. So that may be something to watch if the GFS continues to potentially show it and really thinks it would actually happen. And that time frame, as of right now, that's showing it is around mid-October, between October 15th and 17th. But again, that's way far out at the end of the run, way past 10 days out, so we're really not even going to think about that right now. It's really not important to even think about. I really don't even know why I mentioned it. It's not something that I should have mentioned, because will likely not happen, honestly, but we never know. Could happen, who knows. But anyway, here's what the European model is showing with the system. You can see it shows pretty decent vorticity with the system as it heads closer towards the Yucatan, and then kind of has it being more south and inland over Mexico than what the GFS is showing, and has it kind of dying off, and then has the second disturbance. There you can see there's the vorticity going much farther south and going across the Yucatan into the very western Gulf, and just having a very light amount of vorticity to it, a pretty weak system kind of showing it. So that's very interesting to see. So we're really going to have to watch that second system pretty closely to see if it maybe even potentially could become any stronger of a system. Now, the CMC model, I'll show you this over the precipitation, and The CMC model shows the first system. You can see consolidating into, trying to consolidate into some kind of system, but not really much of a system. And then the second system technically actually takes over and becomes a pretty formidable, decently strong system, kind of, though, as of right now, the CMC is showing it mainly eastern loaded, which we've seen a lot with a lot of tropical systems this year, going farther north and impacting the Gulf Coast, especially for the Florida and the Florida Panhandle, and then moving over Florida off the east coast of the southeast. So that's very interesting. Of course, that is definitely a possibility with the systems, especially with the second system, because of course we don't really know much about what the second system will really go or how strong it will be. So that is a possibility of where the second system could potentially track, but of course this is still pretty far out to even tell. But again, that is definitely on the table of a potential track this second system could take. Of course, it could also, again, go much farther south across the Yucatan, not amount to much of anything, kind of like what the first system might actually do. Or it could go through that sweet spot in between the Yucatan and Cuba and end up becoming a pretty strong system and maybe even impacting the Gulf Coast, so at some location. So there's multiple potential tracks that the second system, the second disturbance that the agency is monitoring could take. So we'll have to really watch that one also quite closely. But again, that is what the models are showing. And then, real quick, just before I close out this video, we're looking at the Wikipedia page for the 2020 Atlantic hurricane season. Again, we've seen a total of 24 depressions, 23 total storms, 8 total hurricanes, and 2 major hurricanes. This is the most above average and most active hurricane season we've seen since 2005, honestly, because it is now the second most active Atlantic hurricane season on record, right behind 2005, with a total of 23 named storms thus far. And if we get to Zeta and get past Zeta, we would beat 2005 for the most active and most named storms in a hurricane season ever, and beating that record of 28 total named storms that happened in 2005. So that's definitely on the table. That's definitely a potential possibility of actually happening, especially since we're actually pretty darn close to that number of total of 28 named storms, since we're already at 23. And as you can see, the majority of the activity especially ramped up as we got towards the middle to the end of August, once we saw Laura and Marco happen, and then especially once we entered September, we saw just like a non-stop amount of named storms occurring, and just a ton of disturbances and tropical activity that NHC was monitoring that all became named systems. We're into the Greek alphabet, 2 names in. We've already had Alpha and Beta. Next name on the Greek alphabet list is Gamma. If I scroll down to the naming list here, you can see Gamma is the next name on the list. And then we could even, honestly, I'm not going to fully say that this will actually happen, but there is the potential that we also might see Delta as well going into next week, if indeed both these systems do indeed become strong enough to be named. But that's still somewhat up in the air, pretty up in the air, on potentially if both systems will be named, because potentially both systems could just end up being tropical depressions and then dying out. But it's still possible that both systems are named as well. So again, that's something else that we're going to have to really closely watch. But again, we've had a total of 24 systems, including Tropical Depression 10, but 23 actual named storms. We are far above average for this time of year, having a total of 20 named storms, becoming the record earliest formation of that storm by storm number. As you can see by this graph here, Cristobal was the record earliest 3rd named storm on record, and then Edward all the way through Beta became the earliest 5th through 23rd named storms on record. And then September 2020 was the most active September we've seen in terms of tropical activity, with a total of 10 tropical cyclones being named. Actually tying it with 2010, because 2010 also, during that hurricane season, had a total of 10 named storms being named during the month of September. So this hurricane season surely is trying to at least tie or beat pretty much any kind of record that any hurricane season has held on, that has occurred during any hurricane season. So that's truly crazy stuff. That is just it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed. Actually, in fact, this is actually a really important thing that I want to mention to you guys. I have started a second YouTube channel. It's called Everything Movies. That YouTube channel is where I'll be discussing everything related to movies. I'll be releasing movie news and movie reviews. I'll review movies sometimes, even rank movies series, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I love movies. So if you love movies as well, like I do, or at least at all are all interested in movies whatsoever, please consider subscribing to that channel. I will post a link so you can go to that channel, press that link and go to my second channel to consider subscribing to that channel, because that's going to be a lot of fun to do with you guys and talk about movies with you guys. So again, I will be posting that link in the description of this video below, so please consider clicking that link and subscribing to that channel. Again, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking the video, commenting on the video. If you're a first-time viewer watching this channel, please, if you like this video, if you like this kind of content, tropical content, I do tons of that kind of this kind of content on my channel, and so if you do, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.